This is the 100 Heads Challenge by Ahmed Al-Duri. In the description you'll find Ahmed's video, as well as the Pinterest board, where I got most of my references. The first head I hated. It was actually the second time I was drawing this exact head. The first time was a few minutes prior, before I started recording, and I really liked how it turned out. And I thought, well, hey, I should record this, show off my cool drawing skills. And as if the universe were punishing me for my hubris, it sucked the second time. I was impatient, and so I moved on pretty quickly to the next head. I was too frustrated to spend more time on the first one, and I felt like I would have failed if I started over or took a break. This isn't the best reason to keep drawing, or at least it doesn't feel good. How should I have acted differently? Well, maybe, that isn't the right question. I don't want to blame myself for feeling a certain way. But how can I, in the future, react in a way that is less painful? I've been thinking about this for a couple weeks now. And I've come to a philosophy that I think has value, but so far I've mostly just been able to apply it in retrospect. Practice doesn't need to be beautiful. It sounds obvious. I mean, art doesn't need to be anything, and it's not really an original idea. It's something I've heard from countless people, but it took me a while to wrap my head around it, or to really hear it, to understand, and I'm still trying to do that. When I first started doing studies, as in drawing from photographs, when I was doing my Art 101 class in college, they were the most technically impressive pieces of art that I had done so far. And I was excited to show them off. I'd show them to my friends and family. I'd say, hey, look. And they'd say, oh, wow, that looks great. And I'd feel like I'd succeeded. But that isn't the point of a study. It's not to make something that looks good. It's to learn. It's practice. And if you're learning effectively, if you're practicing right, then you're failing a lot. You're making things that look bad. You're finding out your weaknesses. If I want to make an image that looks good, that looks appealing, aesthetic, if I want to make a fully realized picture or painting, that's fine. That's my goal. And if I want to have the best chance of accomplishing that goal, then I'll stick to what I know. If I want to learn, then that's another thing. I'll have to try new things. I'll probably end up running into some hurdles, some unexpected problems. There are two outcomes here. There's learning, and there's creating something that looks good. These will mix, of course. If my goal is to make a cool picture, then I might learn something new along the way. And if my goal is to learn, then I might end up making something really nice looking. But expecting myself to do both every single time is hard. It just won't always work. It won't always pan out. At least not for me. I think expecting my studies to be beautiful, finished pieces, worthy of showing off, is actually holding me back from getting the most out of them. I also want to talk about the technical side of this challenge. The video is very sped up, over 16 times, so really I was doing about 10 of these a day, and it was taking me a bit over 2 hours on average. I don't say these numbers for you to compare yourself to. If you plan to take the challenge, you can go at your own pace, of course. I mean, if you do want to compare yourself, if you're very competitive, then by all means. There is the concern that this is kind of unfocused practice. I didn't really have a goal other than to create 100 heads. I could have been much more specific in what I was trying to accomplish, focusing on shading or focusing on proportion. But I think a challenge like this is good in identifying those weaknesses. For me, I think one of those was how terrible I was at drawing a head straight on. I would usually rely on crutches like a symmetry tool or copy-pasting facial features. So trying to do that, I think I actually did use the copy-paste tool at first. But yeah, on that note, I think proportion was definitely the thing that I learned most from doing this challenge, or I had an understanding of it, but doing 10 heads a day and placing the facial features 10 times every day is much better practice than doing it once and then rendering it for 10 hours. Another thing the video doesn't accurately show is how much I'm zooming in and out as I'm doing this. I had the recording OBS set to a different Photoshop window, which was sort of a mirror of the one I was working on my second monitor. And so it didn't record all the zooming in and rotating of the canvas, which would have made it pretty unwatchable at the speed I've got it now. I'm taking a variety of approaches here. Sometimes, most of the time, I'll construct the head with some guidelines first and then draw on top of that. Sometimes I'll go right into painting it, and sometimes I won't really place any guidelines at all and try to eyeball it. I'll use layers for some of the heads, and for a few of them I tried to do two-tone value studies where I just have some shadows and highlights and nothing in between. A lot of these aren't photographs of real people's heads, they're actually photographs of clay sculptures by other artists, or even some marble statues, I think. It was really fun to study from those because sometimes they'll kind of be pre-stylized in a way. That's about all I have to say. I'm not sure how much footage is left in the recording, but I'll just let it play in silence or with some music if there's a lot more. The last head is one I did from imagination, so you might notice some more playfulness in how that one is started. And yeah, I think I got every single one except for the one you see in the thumbnail. I paused the recording like 20 minutes into drawing that one, so you'll see maybe the start of it, but you won't see the full rendering process. I'm still upset about that. Thank you so much for making it this far. I plan to do more of these videos. Not necessarily challenges, but documenting my process and my experience with art projects. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. If you enjoyed your stay, then make yourself at home, subscribe, leave a comment. I would love to hear what you thought.